Good afternoon. Isn't this exciting? We're in a different room. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Senate Finance Committee to order, and if the Secretary would please call the roll.
Senator Cannizzaro, Senator Goycochea, Senator Harris, Senator Neal, Senator Wynn, Senator Severs-Gansert, Senator Titus, Chair Don Daraloop.
Thank you very much, and please mark those members present as they arrive. We have members in other committees, and they will be in and out. So please, just a reminder to limit distractions. Please silence your cell phones. And on the agenda today, we have one BDR that requires a committee introduction, and then we have one bill up for hearing and possible work session. So we'll begin with the committee BDR. Committee members, at your desk, you have a copy of BDR 10.3-1074, which revises provisions governing structured settlement purchase companies. The BDR was requested by the Governor's Office of Finance in order to implement the budget as submitted. With that, I will entertain a motion to introduce. We'll have a short recess because we are missing copies of that. So
we will get them for you.
okay, members, I will give you just a moment to review that, and then I will entertain a motion to introduce. I have a motion by Senator Cannizzaro, a second by Senator Neal. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, we will now move into our bill hearing. We have one bill on the agenda, Senate Bill 440, makes appropriations requiring certain one-time payments and salary increases for state officers and employees. The Majority Leader will be presenting the bill, so I'll invite her to head on down to the witness table, and please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nicole Cannizzaro, and I represent Senate District 6 in the northwest portion of the Las Vegas Valley. I am pleased to be with you all here tonight to present to you Senate Bill 440, which makes appropriations regarding certain one-time payments and salary increases for state officers and employees. Members of the committee, I am very pleased to be here to present this bill to you. I think this bill represents not only a step in the right direction for our state employees to let them know that we value their service, but also a recognition that here in Nevada, there are rights for our state employees to collectively bargain. And when they do so and come up with agreements in order to effectuate workplace raises, whether that be in the version of COLAs, or you'll see here there are some longevity payments, when they negotiate for standards of their job and for things like working hours, that all of those pieces are instrumental and important for how our state employees complete their jobs each and every day. I am someone who believes very strongly that if we have a strong state workforce, that is going to enhance the lives of our constituents, the people who have sent us here to represent them. As state employees are oftentimes one of the very touchstones that our constituents deal with on a day-to-day basis. They're how they interact with us. They're how they provide for things and supports in our communities and other community benefits. And so I think that this bill is an important step in the right direction. We've done a lot of work on this committee to talk about our state employees, and I think that this bill represents a statement that we do support them and their efforts. Not just our state employees, but also in this bill, you will see that part of these raises, these proposed COLA raises, also go to our legislative staff and employees and the judiciary staff. We all here know, of course, just how instrumental all of our legislative employees are to ensuring that the work of the legislature can be done and to make all of us look good on a daily basis. So I am very pleased to be here with you tonight. By way of some background information, Madam Chair, according to a salary survey conducted by the Division of Human Resource Management in FY 2022, the state of Nevada pays its employees on average 30% less when compared to other local governments and the private sector. This pay disparity has resulted in state agencies experiencing difficulty filling vacant positions, leading to a current statewide vacancy rate of approximately 23%. And this committee is certainly no stranger to those dynamics. The salaries of state employees have not kept up with inflation over the last several decades, and two significant events in recent history have impacted the policy decisions regarding state employee wages: the Great Recession and the COVID-19 pandemic. In total, cost of living adjustments, or COLAs, for state employees that have been approved by the legislature have lagged behind inflation by approximately 31% since 1979. Additionally, significant PERS contribution rate increases over the last decade have further reduced state employee take-home pay. As part of our comprehensive approach this session to addressing state employees' compensation and benefits, Senate Bill 440 provides funding for a 2% cost of living adjustment, or COLA, for state employees effective April 1st of 2023. Additionally, SB 440 provides funding for the employee compensation portion of collective bargaining agreements that were approved by the Board of Examiners on March 8th of 2022, after the 2021 legislature had adjourned. This bill appropriates general funds of $26 million and highway funds of $1.5 million in fiscal year 2023 for these purposes. The dollar amounts included in Senate Bill 440 align with the information provided by fiscal staff last week during the Joint Money Committee work session on state employee compensation and benefits. While there will be ongoing costs associated with this bill, the funding for those costs will be included in a future bill this session. The purpose of Senate Bill 440 is to provide fiscal year 2023 funding for the 2% COLA through the end of the fiscal year and the employee compensation portion of the collective bargaining agreements approved by the Board of Examiners last year. To walk through a brief summary of Senate Bill 440, Sections 1 and 2 appropriate general funds of $658,489 in general funds, and then highway funds of $891,725 for a 1% cost of living adjustment, longevity bonuses, and educational attainment payments, retroactive to July 1st of 2022 to fund the provisions of a new collective bargaining agreement between the state and the Nevada Police Union for bargaining unit G, which are Category 1 peace officers, that was approved by the Board of Examiners on March 8th, 2022. Members of the committee, I will note that you should have also in front of you a mock-up of proposed amendment number 3569 to Senate Bill 440. There were some adjustments made to those numbers that are outlined in the specific bill. Specifically, you will note that in Section 1, instead of $658,489, it's $697,880, and then in subsection 1C2, in section 1, subsection 2 of the, instead of the 44, it should be $83,783. So you should have that amendment, that proposed mock-up in front of you. And that relates to sections 1 and then later on in section 2 as well. But those were those two changes I did want to highlight in there. That particular portion of the bill does provide for the payment and the retroactive payment for members of the Nevada Police Union who did go and negotiate these 1% COLAs along with longevity and those educational attainment pieces, but it is incumbent upon the legislature to fund that. And so that's what you're seeing reflected in there. Sections 3 and 4 appropriate general funds of $19,737,672 and highway funds of $80,024 for a 3% cost of living adjustment retroactive to July 1st of 2021 to fund the provisions of a revised collective bargaining agreement between the state and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, also known as AFSCME, Local 4041, for bargaining units A, E, F, and I that was approved by the Board of Examiners on March 8th, 2022. Bargaining Unit A, by way of information, includes labor, maintenance, custodial, and institutional employees, including employees of penal and correctional institutions who are not responsible for security at those institutions. Bargaining Unit E includes professional employees who provide health care, including physical therapists and other employees in medical and other professions related to health. Bargaining Unit F includes employees other than professional employees who provide health care and personal care, including, without limitation, employees who provide care for children. Bargaining Unit I includes Category 3 peace officers. Sections 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 appropriate general funds of $5,744,071 and highway funds of $566,090 for a 2% cost of living adjustment effective April 1st, 2023, and ending on June 30th, 2023 for state employees, including judicial branch employees, legislative employees, and employees of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. Section 11 specifies that unspent funds appropriated through this bill must be reverted by September 15th of 2023. And this bill is effective upon passage and approval. Again, I think we walked through those particular amendments that were included in that mock-up, which you should have in front of you, and which I believe has been provided on Nellis. And members of the committee, I would urge your support for this bill. We have done a lot of work to walk through different scenarios of what it is that we can pay our state employees, how that is going to factor into our budget decisions, and this is one portion of that. This is sort of that first step, that 2% for this particular fiscal year. In addition, I know that there have been some conversations about whether or not we as a legislature should decide to fund those collective bargaining agreements that were reached by our state employees. I would submit to this committee that Those employees are the very people that we have spent all this time talking about how much we value and how much we want to make sure that they are here. So many of those employees, as you've just heard from the description of those bargaining units, and the fact that we're talking about those Nevada Police Union employees who are those Category 1 officers, are our law enforcement, our state law enforcement officers. No one here is surprised that those positions have high vacancy rates, especially when you consider that local municipalities, counties can pay much more. We're training a lot of the law enforcement here in this state at the state level, and then they are leaving for more lucrative positions. We have to do better by them. I spent over a decade working in law enforcement, so I have a particular passion for supporting those individuals. I do not believe that it is responsible for us to say that despite the fact that they went in and negotiated pay increases, that they negotiated these other incentives, that we somehow don't have a duty to provide for those, especially when we have walked through the scenarios of what this means to provide this back pay, to pay for those arbitration agreements, and it fits into our budget. There is just no excuse in my mind for saying to all of those individuals, people who are providing health care for children, people who are supporting our healthcare institutions, these law enforcement officers and people who are working in our Department of Corrections, to say to them that we just don't believe that even though they reached an agreement and the Board of Examiners approved that we are not going to fund it, is just not something that I believe that this body can do, especially when we have walked through and made the numbers work. So I think that the 2% COLA increase for our state employees, our judicial employees, our legislative employees is so, so important. And it's especially important as a buy-in to say that we support them in the work that they are doing so that we can have services that really do meet the needs of our constituents, but also to recognize that those employees who have gone to bat for themselves, to say that we need more in order to do this job, and that we value that and believe in that and are going to be partners in that, especially when we can make it work. That's what this bill is about. So I would urge your support. Madam Chair, I am happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. I know that, speaking of amazing employees that we have here in the legislature, we have very competent fiscal staff with us who I'm sure can assist me in all the questions that I might not have specific answers to. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee has.
Thank you very much, Senator. Are there any questions from the committee? Senator Gansert.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Majority Leader Canizaro, for this bill today for us to review. And so there were certain pieces I just want to go over them. It looks like there was a Board of Examiners meeting some time ago. I think it was in March of 2022, where there were some agreements, collective bargaining agreements that were approved but not funded. And so I had the 1% back to July 1, 2022, plus some longevity for certain groups. And then I saw another 3% for those same groups starting July 1st, 2021. And then I saw another 2% starting April 1st of this year for all employees. Are those the three pieces? April 1st.
Madam Chair, Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6, through you and to Senator Sievers-Gansert. Yes, so there are two specific collective bargaining agreements. They were both approved by the Board of Examiners March 8th of 2022. Because they were approved and they reached those negotiations and were approved past the time that the legislature was in session in 2021, they were not funded because the Board of Examiners does not have authority to appropriate funds and fund those agreements. There are two particular collective bargaining agreements. The one for the Nevada Police Union included, and I'm sure that either Mr. Thorley can probably correct me if I get this incorrect, but the bargaining agreement for the Nevada Police Union included a 1% COLA, plus some additional educational attainment and longevity pieces. That was an agreement between that bargaining unit and the state. It was approved by the Board of Examiners, but it included a non-appropriations clause. So it would have required the legislature to appropriate the money. And so that was that first agreement. The second agreement is an ASME agreement. It covers those, I believe it was 4 different bargaining units that I mentioned, A, E, F, and I. That particular agreement included a 3% COLA beginning July 1st of 2022, a 3% COLA beginning retroactively on July 1st of 2021. And that agreement was also, because it was approved by the Board of Examiners, same process, an agreement between those bargaining units and the state, but it also included a non-appropriation clause that would require the legislature to be able to fund that, because the Board of Examiners does not. And because it occurred, that amended collective bargaining agreement occurred after and was reached after the legislature was in session, we would have to fund it. There were bill draft requests that were submitted by the previous administration. Those bill draft requests were not pursued, and so that is why you are seeing those pieces in Senate Bill 440 in an effort to make good on that, because those agreements, to your point, would be retroactive to July 1st of 2021 date, but because those agreements were reached after the legislature was in session, they weren't funded at the time. We are now in session, we have the ability to fund it, and that's why it's in Senate Bill 440.
Thank you. And just to follow up, so I know we all value our employees, and we know that we need to increase their pay. And I recognize that Governor Lombardo in his proposed budget has 8 and 10% in the first year, depending upon if you have a catch-up, because collective bargaining received more of a COLA during the last session than other employees, and then there was 4% for everyone. So when I look at this, there's disparity between those who are in the union or not in the union. So we're continuing this inequity between employees who may be working side by side as far as the COLAs, and I think that's concerning, and we need to consider that. And then also, there's different timeframes for the amounts or the different pieces that you have here, and so I was looking for fiscal notes as far as ongoing costs, because I've been here through a couple of sessions and special sessions where, especially like in 2007, where we had to roll back pay increases because the economy looked really good in 07, 05, 07, and then 08 we had to make cuts, and then we had to do furloughs and all these things. So I think we have to be really wary about ongoing costs. So I didn't know if you had, or fiscal staff has, what the ongoing costs are for these different pieces. Thank you.
Thank you, and Madam Chair, through you to Senator Severs-Gansert, Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6. So a couple of things. Yes, there are proposed, and what this committee has been discussing from the governor's recommended budget are 8 and 10% COLA increases for the first year of the biennium, and then an additional 4% COLA increase in the second year of the biennium. This 2% COLA that is in here would be in addition to that. Also, there are built into these collective bargaining agreements additional cost of living adjustments. And I think when we talk about inequities, I would first note that there are inequities across state agencies, right? Attorneys in certain agencies or the legislative versus the judicial versus the executive branch may have different pay scales. So I think it's a little inaccurate to just talk about this as being a particular inequity, because I think that there are many pieces of that conversation, which, we can certainly have in this committee. What I would note is that there is current Nevada law that provides employees the ability to join a union. And when they do that, they have the right, the absolute right to go and collectively bargain. They join together, they make that agreement, and they are permitted under Nevada law to bargain with the state for certain conditions of employment. That could include work conditions, it could include hours of employment, it may include things like uniforms and pieces of their day-to-day activity, whether they can work from home or not work from home. They can also bargain, though, for pay increases. That is part of the law in the state of Nevada. Any employee that works as a state employee has that right under the law. But that is a function of when there is collective bargaining in a state, just like at the county level. And I will offer one point of sort of, I guess, an anecdotal offering. I was a county employee. I was part of the prosecutors union. We had collective bargaining agreements that we went and negotiated with the county. Our counterparts in the public defender's office did not have those same collective bargaining agreements because they were not unionized. And there were definitely differences in pay and work conditions, because those were things that were bargained for. They now have a union. They now have the right to collectively bargain. They've chosen to do that. And since the time that, I was a prosecutor, have secured collective bargaining agreements and agreements with the county. That is true of any public employee union opportunity that exists, and that exists in the state of Nevada. What I don't believe is within our ability is that if a group like the Nevada Police Union, who represents law enforcement Category 1 officers, says that they're going to come in and bargain with the state, and they bargain with the state, and there's an agreement reached, and that agreement is approved by the Board of Examiners pursuant to Nevada law, that we just don't fund it because we believe that there might be some inequity. They have done their job under the collective bargaining law to achieve that purpose. And so I am always happy to have a conversation about the inequities that exist, but I don't think that we should be making particular distinctions between a law enforcement officer that works in the state for the Nevada Police Union and other folks when they have gone to the bargaining table and have negotiated, which means that there are give and take, right, on both sides for that, because that is the current law in the state of Nevada. When we're talking about the different timeframes in the fiscal notes, what I will say, and I will leave it to fiscal staff to delineate some of the more specifics if there's anything that they would like to add. We have gone through a lot of scenarios of what this could look like and what it means for the entire budget. And so this is not something that I think is being offered without any context of being able to continue these pieces that are in Senate Bill 440 throughout the biennium without the ability to fund this biennium. And certainly those are decisions that this committee is ongoing in making. And as I mentioned in my remarks, there will be ongoing bills that will come before this committee for consideration to implement some of these other pieces of state employee compensation and what that means going forward into the next biennium. And so I don't know exactly what the fiscal notes would be and what this looks like going forward. What I do know is that this is something that we have worked through with fiscal staff to determine whether or not this can be built into the overall budget that might be proposed and considerations for this committee. And that relates back to our discussion last week, and I forget exactly which day it was that we had the discussion on state employees, but all of those pieces were part of that comprehensive piece and certainly represent some future decisions for this committee to make as well. And I don't know if there's anything else that fiscal staff wanted to add. If not, that's okay.
Senator, I would like to invite Mr. Thorley to give you some ongoing costs amounts. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. For the portion of the bill that deals with the 2% COLA effective April 1st, 2023, the FY24 general fund cost would be $27.4 million. The FY25 general fund cost would be $29.1 million. The FY24 highway fund cost would be $5.5 million. And the FY25 highway fund cost would be $5.9 million. The FY24 other funds cost, so non-general fund, non-highway fund, would be $11.1 million. And the FY25 other funds cost would be $11.8 million. For the portion of the bill that deals with the employee compensation portions of the two collective bargaining agreements, the FY24 general fund cost would be $13.6 million. The FY25 general fund cost would be $14.6 million. The FY24 highway fund cost would be $1.8 million. And the FY25 highway fund cost would be $2 million. The FY24 other funds cost would be $1.6 million, and the FY25 other funds cost would be $1.7 million. funding for all the costs that I just mentioned, the FY24 and FY25 costs for both portions of the bill, are not included in Senate Bill 440.
Thank you for the numbers. I appreciate that.
Additional questions from the committee? Okay. Everybody's real quiet tonight. Thank you very much. And we will move to those in support of Senate Bill 440.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Paula Luna with Battleborn Progress. That's PAULA-LUNA. We are in complete support of AB 337. Is that the right number? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Wrong
Senate
number.
Bill 440 is what we're on?
As soon as I said it, I was like, that's the wrong number. We are in full support. This bill will go a long way for our state employees. The one-time bonus will provide immediate help, and the salary increases will make that support long-standing. We want to thank the Majority Leader Canizaro for sponsoring such a comprehensive compensation bill and working collaboratively with those bargaining units to develop such a well-thought-out bill that will improve the lives of our state employees. We urge this body's approval. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Carter Bundy with AFSCME. We are very grateful to Senate Majority Leader Canizaro for this. It's incredibly important. One of the core concepts in collective bargaining is that we do get to make our case to the administration, whoever is in the administration at the time. Thank you. And emphasize how important this is. And I think to some degree, collective bargaining really enabled us to get a little bit ahead of the curve because we saw and we lived through those vacancy rates prior to just this year. This is not something that's new. As the Majority Leader said, the average is about 23%, but there are agencies that go up as high as 30 and 35% vacancy rates, I believe. So this is a really important thing, not just for state employees, many of whom are paid much less than their counterparts in counties and cities throughout the state. It's not just important for them. It's important for the citizens of Nevada to receive the services that employees pay. The truth is we're going to continue to have significant vacancy problems as long as not just in law enforcement, but across the board, the state is serving as a training ground for other employers both in and out of the state. This is an incredibly important piece of legislation. Our members are very grateful to the Majority Leader and to everyone who has been working so diligently in both of the money committees to make sure that we can improve compensation for state employees so that we can end this staffing shortage. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee and staff. My name is Rick McCann, Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers, and a member of the Nevada Law Enforcement Coalition. I won't belabor what all of my colleagues have said, and you've heard it from me before. This is an excellent effort to move forward in the progress of getting our state people adequately compensated and taken care of. I sat in this very room a few years ago when we passed SB 135 and gave state employees the first time in their history, in the history of the state, the opportunity of collectively bargaining. This is another step in the direction of recognizing our state people. And you have other measures, I believe, that this committee and other committees are moving forward with to try to get even more of a comprehensive package to these people. We appreciate it, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is John Abel, representing the LVPPA, the union that represents Metro officers, and we support SB 440. I'm relatively new in understanding how collective bargaining works at the state level. I know how it works at the local level. So hopefully in the future we can make some changes to make it a little easier for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Alejandro Rodriguez, Director of Government Relations for Nevada System of Higher Education. On behalf of NSHE, we'd like to thank Senate Majority Leader Canizaro for bringing forward SB 440, and we stand in strong support and urge your support. Thank you.
Michael Flores on behalf of the University of Nevada, Reno. I want to thank the Majority Leader for bringing this forward. We're in strong support and thankful on behalf of all of our faculty and staff and University Police Services as well. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dan Gordon. I'm the president of the Nevada Police Union. I was the vice president of the Nevada Police Union for approximately 6 years, and last year became the president. We negotiated in good faith, and we had to go to arbitration in July of 2021. We did win that arbitration hearing, and the state must fund our previous CBA. State refused to accept the arbitration award in October of 2021, and district court ruled in our favor and forced the state to fund the CBA, and also was forced to pay our attorney's fees. 2022, the state did not appeal the district court ruling, and therefore we feel that Senate Bill 440 should be approved and fund that previous contract. Thank you.
Kent Irvin, ERVIN, Nevada Faculty Alliance. Since our founding 40 years ago, we have worked to empower our members to be fully engaged in our mission to help students succeed. We strongly support SB 440 and very appreciate that it's being brought forward. Ditto to what the other speakers have said. This compensation package will be a big boost for our classified colleagues, including campus police, and to the faculty at NSHE who are included in the 2% COLA starting April 1st. This is a great step in your overall plan on compensation for state employee retention and recruitment. At NSHE, the turnover rate last year rose to 14%. Our support positions are severely understaffed, and we are having a hard time recruiting and keeping academic faculty and professional staff. Applications are down dramatically, and top candidates decline when they work out the salary offers versus living expenses. Since 2010, state-funded take-home salaries for faculty, after accounting for state COLAs, retirement contributions, and inflation, have declined over 25%. So it would take a 30% increase to get back to 2010. The COLA and SB 440, along with the enhancements outlined last Thursday, are a huge leap forward. Please pass and fund SB 440. Thank you so much for looking out for all state employees.
Madam Chair, for the record, my name is Eddie Abelister with Tri-Strategies, speaking to you on behalf of the Nevada Police Union today. I've had the privilege of working with the Nevada Police Union since its inception. Nevada Police Union started as a simple association of highway patrol officers, about 100 of them, and in 2019 worked diligently with other members of labor organizations to pass Senate Bill 135, which we're thrilled for the opportunity. When that passed, we worked extremely hard to organize members within our category unit to get enough 50% plus one to become the official labor unit for Cat G, which is Category 1 law enforcement. At that time, they worked aggressively with the state, understanding that there were nuances that we had to work through in negotiating. First ever negotiating agreement with the state of Nevada. It was difficult, and this body actually had a chance to vote on many other agreements in 2021. Ours came a little bit later. There's many reasons why ours came later, a little bit later, but we ultimately came to an agreement, and then it was sort of pulled back. And then in July, we had to go to arbitration, as the President Gordon mentioned. And that arbitrator ruled almost immediately in our favor. And then, and again, we're following the law, following the bill. In October, we went to district court following Senate Bill 135, Section 43, which says a labor organization can sue the governor, the executive department, if there is not an agreement in place. So the Nevada Police Union sued, and from the bench, the district court ruled in our favor and gave us attorney fees. We reached out, asked if there's anything else that needs to be done. The state said they're not going to appeal, move forward, and we moved to the Board of Examiners, which it was approved. Ladies and gentlemen, today, senators, I ask and appeal that you support this bill in good faith of the hard work that the Nevada Police Union's been working on diligently over 3 years to get to this point. This is the final piece to the first bargaining agreement in this state. And it's an important piece to entrust with our men and women who are serving and protecting this state to ensure them that they have a small amount of financial support and some negotiated agreements that we worked hard for. We also appeal that there should not be a reason to back pay. As a former administrator in this state, I know that back pay has happened multiple times, and to that,
Thank
I
you so
appreciate your time.
much.
Thank you.
Any additional support? Thank you very much. In Las Vegas, please go ahead if you are in support. Thank you very much. Seeing no one else in Las Vegas, BPS, is there anyone on the line? Thank you very much. Next caller, please. Thank you very much. Next caller, please. Thank you very much. And we're going to take a slight recess. We seem to be having some audio issues with outside the room. So we'll stand in recess for just a minute. Okay, we're all moving to 2135. So see you on the elevator. And I'll be taking roll when we get there, so everybody better show up.
You are in the meeting now.
Mic check.
Hello, check, check, check. LT, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Vegas can hear you.
Okay, Josh, can you raise her up like 9? Maybe 6. Let's start with 6. Hello, Malik. Did you do that already, Josh? Could you give me another nod if you did that? Thank you. Can you hear me okay, and is my level okay, LT?
So your level is very loud and clear in Vegas, and I can hear you. Actually, you guys are really loud, so I need for you. I might need for you guys to go down 3.
Down?
Down 3.
Okay, let's go down 3
Yes,
for
down.
me. Okay.
Yes.
Have we done that, Josh? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that okay?
You sound great. Yes, sir.
Let's go another 3 up for LT. Thank you so much. And
Vegas, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check.
there are people talking, but I hear you fine. Malik, could you please do a sound check for me?
Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I hear you. You're clear. Okay. Could you do a screen share real quick? I see it full screen.
And Vegas can see it full screen.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you.
All right, welcome to part 2 of Finance. And I see Mr. McCann and Mr. Robb. Mr. Klinger is absent. Please let him know. And we will go back to the phone lines where we were in support. So BPS, when you're ready, would you please go back to support on the phone lines?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer testimony in support of SB 440, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Following with the last 3 digits, 124, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. You may begin.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Stephanie Doobie, and I am an AFSCME Local 4041 member, and I am calling in support of SB 440. It has been, I've worked for the state for about 6 years, and it has understaffed and
Are you still there? We can't hear you. BPS, would you check and see if our caller is still on the line?
Hello?
We can hear you.
Hello, my name is Sonia Witten.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Sonia Wooden. I am calling in support of Senate Bill 440. As a state of Nevada employee for almost 20 years, it is high time for the state to acknowledge what AFSCME has been fighting for and saying for decades, which is that state workers are underpaid and overworked. The staffing shortage is definitely a reflection of the low pay and the decrease in our benefits. So I am very thankful for this committee taking a look at this and doing steps to move forward to correct it.
Thank you. BPS, next caller, please.
Thank you, Chair. If there are no other callers to testify in support at this time.
Thank you very much. And we will go to opposition. Is there anybody in Carson City in opposition? I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. BPS, would you please go to the phone lines?
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 440, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. We will go to neutral here in Carson City.
Good evening, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Jack Robb, Director of Department Administration for the record. This afternoon, I met with Department Administration staff that is in charge of getting the payroll out every other week. And we have concerns with the way the bill is put together and concerns with implementing the bill the way it is put together, knowing how our system works or how we hope it works every week. Our staff, when it comes to the system, the old Advantage system we've been trying to get off for years, every time we go to try to get a payroll out, we collectively hold our breath. And staff spends a great deal of time over weekends babysitting that system to ensure that we all get paid. Currently, that staff, we have 10 FTEs on staff, but we will soon be down to 6. We're losing some to DPS, some to Carson City, and 1 retiring. The way that it is put together, with it being retroactive, we have to go back and look at it step by step. It'd be a very manual process to do this because merit increases come in at different times for employees. There's been some promotions throughout the time frame that this occurred. We have people coming and going, new employees retiring. It is a very manual process to do this. We calculate that the process to go back to 21, like the bill calls out, there was approximately 4,300 employees that we'd have to review, and you'd have to go through every payroll and do a manual process. You'd have to start at the earliest one, and it's like a stair step. We would have to build upon the earliest one and go throughout. To do that for that length of time, for that many employees, we're looking at 2 FTEs for a full year to get there. So if we're trying to provide relief to get something out into the employees' hands in an expedited manner, this is not going to get us there. It is a concern just doing payroll on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Something as simple as W-2s that we were supposed to run, it should be easy out of a system. This year, to get W-2s out on time, staff worked all hours of the day and night. We started the payroll process 3 times and it failed. So we had to babysit that, and we had mail services come in. We had people from Eats come in to make sure they got printed. We were right down to the wire in getting those W-2s out so we didn't incur penalties from the federal government. So our biggest concern is the way the bill is put together and our ability to make it work through an antiquated system.
Thank you. Just a quick question. I know that we just canceled one system and are preparing to purchase another system. How long will that take to get that up so that we have babysitters on a new system?
Jack Rowe, for the record, thank you for the question. We're hoping to fast track a new system in. We did cancel the Smart 21 contract last week. We told the SAP we're not going to move forward with that platform. Just to get somebody in to even be at a point we can go to contract, we're looking at October to go to contract. We're hoping to have the system up and running in the next 2 years. It wouldn't be any sooner than 2 years to have a new system up and running.
So, not to interrupt you, so are you telling me that this is Wednesday, so Friday, when we have payroll for all the employees here in this building, yourself included, the governor, anybody else, how are they going to get their paycheck?
Jack Rowe, for the record, we were still using the legacy system to get payroll out. That contract had modules in, but the payroll system was still through the Advantage system, and that was some of our concern. We had not converted to the new system for payroll.
So are we going to have paychecks on Friday?
I'm sorry?
Are we going to have paychecks on Friday?
We're going to have paychecks on Friday without a doubt.
Okay, so maybe we can work on that and hire some babysitters, or?
Jack Rowe, for the record, it's the same staff that was doing payroll 2 weeks ago in the same system we'd used 2 weeks ago. The SAP platform did not have the payroll system built into it yet. The financial models had not been rolled over. Some of the HR modules had been brought in, but the payroll and financial modules had not been stood up yet. So we're using the same exact system last month that we will use next month. It's the babysitting of that system. It's the lack of employees to babysit it. It's the fragile nature of that system. And this would be an increased workload, and we're trying to get the old system unwound, the SAP system unwound, and then be implementing a new system. So we're short-staffed on a regular basis without compounding it with turning off old systems, trying to implement new systems, and the system that requires a ton of babysitting to get payroll out every week, every other week.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I just feel like if we have money that we owe people, bill or no bill, if we have money that we owe people, we need to get that to them. So I guess we'll have to figure out how to do that when this bill passes, hopefully, because we have employees that are counting on that. So we'll take that offline. Thank you very much, Mr. Robb, for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional neutral here in Carson City? In Las Vegas? Seeing none. On the phone lines, please, BPS.
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers to offer testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. All right. With that, closing remarks, Senator Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6. I, again, would just reiterate my comments as to why it's so important, I think, that we support this bill. I would also note that I think, Madam Chair, you sort of addressed one of the issues that we just heard with respect to having to pay out money. If we owe money to state employees, we have to be able to pay that out to them. And that has to happen. And I understand that there are difficulties with the system, and that's certainly a conversation this body is and has been having for quite some time. I would also note that this is not the first time that this committee, even this session, has talked about money, or that the Interim Finance Committee has talked about money for back pay for things that are owed to state employees. If this committee will remember, those of us who were on IFC approved a partial payment of a settlement for, I believe it was corrections officers who had been on the clock and had been not clocking in, doing briefings, and then clocking in later on, and then were awarded that back pay. Several of the people that were part of that lawsuit had been doing that for quite some time. We then, in this session, just approved, I don't remember the number of the bill, but there was a bill, an assembly bill that came over to us that we heard in this committee that would appropriate money to the contingency account, not only to bring the balance of the statutory contingency account up, but also to pay the rest of that settlement, all of which would have to be back paid to all of those state employees. And so this is an issue that I think we are all aware of after many conversations about Smart 21 and other pieces. But that was not a concern that was brought to this committee when we were asked to fund that payment for that settlement. And so, I'm happy to look for solutions on how to work through how we can pay these employees. But I think, to your point, Madam Chair, if they're owed this money, which was part of what these agreements are for, then we have an obligation to pay it. And so I would urge the committee's support. And thank you for the late evening and the indulgences, and certainly having to move rooms mid-hearing. I appreciate everyone's time and patience.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 440. And committee, I would like to work session this bill, which was just presented by the majority leader. And since the committee just heard the bill, I will not ask Mr. Thorley to summarize the bill. However, I will open it up for any questions or comments from the committee on the bill and the proposed amendment.
willing to make a motion to amend and do pass whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Harris? I'm sorry. Senator Ganser, go ahead.
I don't know if you want to take the second and then have discussion, or?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Did you already get the second? There you go.
Second from Senator Nguyen. Any discussion?
Thank you. I appreciate the recognition that we need to raise the pay for our public employees. We realize how hard they've been working, especially during COVID, has been extremely challenging. And our governor put forth pretty substantial raises, 8 and 10%, depending upon if you were already had another 2% because you were in a collective bargaining unit, and then another 4%. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I was here during the 2005, 2007, 2009 sessions and a whole bunch of special sessions because we were able, the modified business tax was implemented in like 2003, and there was money. In 2005, there was a refund of about $300 million to people across the state, and significant increases in raises. And then what we found ourselves doing is having to roll back raises, COLAs, and doing furloughs and so forth during 2008 and 9 and 10. And we also had to cut a lot of services, and we were always measuring what's essential services and what's not. It's really extremely difficult to have to face those challenges and to make those decisions when you give employees significant COLAs. And in this case, my math is there's a 1% plus a 3% plus a 2% for those members of the bargaining groups, and then another 8%, right? So that's 14%, and then the governor's proposing another 4% on top of that. So I'm combining what's in this bill plus what's been proposed by the governor is 18%, and for those not in the bargaining groups, I believe it's 10 plus 4%, which is 14%. So we talked a little bit about disparity in pay, and right now there is a disparity in pay that was there, and there's an attempt to catch it up at the 8 and 10 from the first year, for the first year of the biennium, and now we're going to have a 4% pay disparity overall at the end of this biennium. And again, talking about the governor, he proposed significant raises, but also the retention incentives, and that may be in part because they're one shot, so we know how to manage that better given some of the rollover dollars that we have from the last fiscal year into this fiscal year and potentially this fiscal year to the next. So there are funds available to be able to do those incentive bonuses, and then we don't have the ongoing liability, which is always a concern. So I think we have to make sure that we're fiscally prudent. And when I added these numbers together, just for these pieces, it was over $40 million per year ongoing, and of course increasing over time. Plus whatever we end up doing with retention incentives, plus whatever is approved through the governor's proposal, the 8/10 for the first year of the biennium, and then an additional 4%. So I don't think anyone wants to argue that we need to pay our employees more, but I also recognize we need to be fiscally responsible today, and we need to look towards the future. And these types of raises can become insurmountable. And so for that reason, I'm going to be a no. And it's not because I don't believe, and I think as all of us believe, that we need to pay our employees more and work diligently to be able to do that. But while funds may be available now, we don't know where they're going to be in the future. So we have to make sure that we make fiscally responsible decisions so we don't face challenges 6 months from now or a year from now, having to roll things back and put our employees on furloughs, which creates significant hardships. So thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much. Additional comments? Case, would you like to say something? Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I absolutely appreciate what our state workers have done, especially our law enforcement officers, and how hard they work. But I think our governor has made excellent progress in making sure that we reinforce those that have stuck with the state throughout. He has had, in good faith, offered some significant increases and raises, and I believe that, as we heard earlier in testimony, we as a legislative body represent all state employees, not just a few. And it still bugs me to this date that last session, the chair of Ways and Means called any state employee that wasn't a part of the union a freeloader during a hearing. And I would tell you, I don't feel any of our state employees are freeloaders. And I think our governor has done a good job trying to catch up with some of this truly bad situations with our employees. And I believe we should represent all of our employers. So for that reason, I'm not going to support this bill at this time, the way it's written. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Gokachia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be very brief. We passed the Assembly bill that actually gave the employees a $500 the bonus, and I thought that was a good faith effort as we were going forward. I really don't want to process this bill until we look at the total budget and the total ramifications, and I'm voting no because of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments, Senator Harris? Any additional comments? Okay. With that, then, I have a motion to amend and do pass with a second from Senator Wynn. And all those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Please record the nays as Senator Gansert, Titus, and Gokachia. Thank you very much. And with that, we will now move into public comment. And to dial in, the number is 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, please enter 825-9069-8543 and then press pound. When prompted for the participant ID, please press pound. And BPS, go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Thank you, Chair. There are no callers wishing. Oh, excuse me. One moment.
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Luana Davis. I'm a FSS worker, and I would like to comment in regards to us getting the raise. I've been with the state for going on 4 years now, and due to inflation, it is an extreme hardship with family and raising my children and trying to provide with no raises. But I mean, the pay is not meeting up compared to all the other sectors. And I do believe that we should get a raise sooner rather than later. I mean, I did hear Senator speak on what is it called? The furloughs. I would prefer to get a furlough somewhere in the future than not getting a raise.
BPS, did we drop the line or was she done?
That's it. I'm done.
Thank you very much. We're sorry. We just didn't hear anything. Thank you so much. All right, BPS, anyone else on the line?
If you have just joined us and would like to offer public comment on today's meeting, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Again, I am with AFSCME Local 4041, and I'm also a 20-year state Nevada employee. I am calling to support Senate Bill 440. I am thrilled that the legislature body has heard the constant statements from state Nevada employees, and especially AFSCME, stating that we are severely underpaid for the work that we do. And so this recognition that, yes, we do need to honor the arbitration award that was won for those in a collective bargaining unit. And anyone who is a classified employee has an opportunity to participate in AFSCME. And I would encourage anyone who is a state Nevada employee to join the union that they are eligible to join, whether you are classified and eligible for athlete, or you are a public safety officer in a Cat 1 or Cat 2. But I definitely am thankful for this body looking into our wages, honoring the arbitration award that athlete won and the others won, and making these folks whole. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And BPS, do we have any more public comment?
Yes, Chair. One moment. Caller with the last three digits, 901. You are unmuted and may begin.
Madam Chair and the committee, my name is Troy Levick. I am a health program specialist in the Division of Public and Behavioral Health, and I'm a member of Ask Me Local 4041, and we are asking the legislature to support Senate Bill 440. I can tell you a couple of things. Understaffing, we are exclusively federally funded in my unit, and we've had to make some expensive choices to go to the CDC Foundation to hire contractors to fill many of the jobs in our unit, which is more expensive than standing up some of the own state positions. One of the first things that I was asked to do was to move from Southern Nevada to Carson City, which took a month's salary, and I moved to an area where I have to pay more than 50% of my take-home as rent. I can tell you something, that I came to the state with decades of service and a master's degree in my chosen profession. I'm asking you to stand behind us.
Thank you very much. BPS, additional callers in public comment.
There are no other callers to offer public comment at this time.
Thank you very much. And before I forget, is there any public comment here in Carson City? I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. So with that, committee members, this completes our business for the day. Have a nice evening, be safe, and this meeting is adjourned.